How would you react if you discovered that you were left behind by the one you loved the most? From a life of humble beginnings to a journey marked by unexpected betrayal, Olivia's story is full of pain, resilience, and the tireless pursuit of a dream. She worked tirelessly as a cleaner while dreaming of wearing the nurse's uniform. But when she thought life couldn't get any harder, she was faced with a devastating truth that changed everything. Have you ever felt your world crumble in a single moment? Olivia did. As she held the wedding invitation in her trembling hands, with the names Samuel and Rachel shining before her, Olivia felt her heart shatter. Olivia lived in a humble neighborhood in New Orleans, a city known for its music, culture, and also for its marked social differences. She worked as a cleaner in a large local hospital, but never stopped dreaming of becoming a nurse. The neighborhood where she grew up was simple, with old houses and streets lined with small businesses. At the hospital, Olivia saw the social contrast on a daily basis. Doctors and nurses were treated with respect, while the cleaners were barely noticed. Still, she maintained her desire to build a better future. Olivia's parents were her source of inspiration. Tireless workers, they made many sacrifices so that she could study and have opportunities that they themselves never had. At home, she studied every night, imagining the day when she would wear a white coat instead of her cleaning uniform. At the hospital, she walked the corridors with care, cleaning rooms and common areas, always observing the routine of the doctors she admired so much. It was there that she met Samuel, a charismatic and respected doctor from a wealthy New Orleans family. Samuel was always kind to Olivia, striking up casual conversations during work breaks. Over time, the two began to meet more often, and a special connection was born. Samuel was everything Olivia admired: intelligent, dedicated, and captivating. However, he was also bound by his family's expectations and the social pressure of the world he lived in. When they were alone, Samuel treated Olivia with affection and attention. In public, however, he remained reserved and distant. As much as he wanted to come out, fear of social judgment prevented him from doing so. Gradually, this division between Samuel's private and public behavior became too evident for Olivia, and she began to question her own worth. Meanwhile, the city of New Orleans went about its routine, full of festivals and music in the streets. The vibrant culture contrasted with the reality of those who lived in the humblest neighborhoods, like Olivia. She felt the city's social differences firsthand, especially in the hospital, where the doctors were always respected and the cleaners, like her, worked behind the scenes, almost invisible. Her relationship with Samuel felt like an emotional roller coaster. At times, he almost revealed the relationship to the public, but always backed down, leaving Olivia full of doubts and insecurities. The days passed, and she saw her dream of becoming a nurse becoming more and more distant, suffocated by the conflict between her love for Samuel and her desire to be recognized and respected. One day, while cleaning Samuel's office, Olivia found a wedding invitation. She picked up the envelope with trembling hands and felt a chill run down her spine. She opened the invitation and read the names, Samuel and Rachel. In that instant, Olivia's world fell apart. Samuel had chosen to follow his family's patterns, leaving her behind. The discovery of the wedding devastated Olivia. She cried alone for days, trying to put the pieces of her heart back together. She knew she couldn't go on in that place. So she made a decision. She would leave the hospital, the city, and everything she knew. She packed her bags and set off for Baton Rouge, determined to start a new life. Arriving in Baton Rouge, Olivia faced a series of challenges. As soon as she settled into her new apartment, a small and modest space, she realized that she would have to fight hard to survive in that city. She got a job as a waitress in a local restaurant. The days were long and exhausting, but she stuck to her purpose. She had to learn to economize, making difficult choices in order to stay on her feet. For the first few weeks, Olivia dealt with loneliness. She was in an unfamiliar place, with no friends and no family present. Every day, she returned to the apartment with fatigue weighing on her body and a mind full of thoughts. Amidst the chaos of her new life, she met an eccentric neighbor named Mrs. May. The lady, with a broad smile and gray hair always tied up in a bun, lived in the same hallway and often dropped by to offer help, tell funny stories about her cats, and share words of encouragement. The neighbor's presence brought a little comfort to Olivia, who found herself laughing in the rare moments when they talked. It was in the midst of this new reality that Olivia discovered she was pregnant. She felt paralyzed when she saw the test result. Tears streamed down her face. She wasn't sure if they were of fear, sadness, or perhaps hidden joy. She felt completely alone. She remembered Samuel and how he had left her behind, but decided that she would move on for her children. She made the decision to raise them alone, without ever depending on him for anything. The months that followed brought a series of difficulties. Olivia worked in the restaurant throughout her pregnancy, saving every penny she could. On her days off, she organized the small apartment for the arrival of the babies. With Mrs. May's help, she managed to buy some second-hand clothes and basic furniture to set up a bedroom. Some nights, she sat on the sofa, stroking her belly, while thinking about what life would be like from then on. She was scared, but also determined to give her children a decent and safe life. Despite the difficulties, Olivia began to feel a new strength inside her. Pregnancy brought a sense of purpose that she had never felt before. In the midst of loneliness and exhaustion, she realized that her life no longer revolved around what she had lost, but what she was about to gain. She decided that her children would have a better future, and this motivated her to keep fighting. Olivia then realized that she needed to better understand her own story. She knew she had been adopted, but she had never looked for information about her birth parents. She suddenly felt the need to know her origins, perhaps as a way of connecting with something greater than herself. She started looking for clues, asking family acquaintances, and searching the internet. The search was not easy. After many months and several failed attempts, she finally found the name of her biological mother, Clara. She then decided to look for her, not knowing exactly what she expected to find. When the two met, Olivia realized that she had much more in common with Clara than she had imagined. Clara told her about her difficulties, the sacrifices she had made, and why she had to give Olivia up for adoption. This conversation brought Olivia a new understanding of her own life. She understood that her strength came from a lineage of women who had faced difficult situations, but who never gave up. She decided to honor that legacy. She would use Clara's legacy to change the course of her life and that of others. She planned to return to New Orleans and do something great. Olivia decided that she would open a community clinic. She wanted to offer affordable health services to those like her who were struggling financially. This idea took hold in her mind and became the new goal she would strive for. Deep down, she knew that this was the way to honor her past and build a better future for her children. Olivia returned to New Orleans with renewed determination. She rented a modest space in the center of the city and began to transform it into a community clinic. She invested the money from Clara's inheritance in basic equipment and recruited health professionals willing to work for a greater cause. He faced many obstacles during the process. The local authorities imposed countless bureaucracies, while some members of the medical community criticized her and doubted her ability to lead such an ambitious project. Despite the difficulties, Olivia persisted. She remembered the times she worked as a cleaner in the hospital, dreaming of the day when she could really help people. The clinic, for her, was the realization of that dream. She decided that she would not only offer medical care, but also free nursing courses and professional training for other women who, like her, were looking for a new opportunity. The first few months of the clinic were difficult. The number of patients was low, and even with all the money from her inheritance, Olivia felt the weight of the bills to keep the place running. She had to get involved in every aspect of the clinic, from patient care to organizing the finances. She often returned home exhausted and worried, but she didn't allow fear to make her give up. Clara, her biological mother, moved to New Orleans to support Olivia on this new path. Clara's presence proved crucial, as she offered advice and helped run the clinic during the most difficult times. The two began to share not only their daily tasks, but also their dreams and the pain they carried. Olivia realized that, despite all the difficulties, she had finally found her place. As time went by, word of the clinic spread throughout the city. People from different neighborhoods began to seek out the services it offered. The community's trust grew, and Olivia saw her vision start to become a reality. The place became more than just a place for medical care. It became a refuge for those looking for hope and opportunities. People didn't just come to the clinic to take care of their health, but but also to take part in courses, receive guidance, and find a place where they felt valued. While working at the clinic, Olivia also looked after the twins, who were now 3 years old. She raised them alone, teaching them about compassion, courage, and the power of perseverance. They became the force that drove her every day. At times when things seemed too complicated, she only had to look at her children to find the motivation she needed. Clara, as a grandmother, was also present at every stage, helping to raise her grandchildren and offering Olivia emotional support. Work at the clinic intensified, and Olivia had to hire more professionals as demand increased. She faced new challenges, such as expanding the space and acquiring more equipment. However, she was never intimidated. She knew that every obstacle she overcame was another step towards her goal. The clinic, which started out small and discredited, now became a symbol of resistance and transformation. With the results coming in, Olivia was invited to speak at local events about public health and social entrepreneurship. In her talks, she shared not only the challenges she faced, but also the importance of not giving up on your dreams. Her story began to inspire others, who saw in her an example of courage and overcoming. One Saturday afternoon, as Olivia finished organizing the clinic's paperwork, she felt a mixture of tiredness and satisfaction. She looked at the timetable on the wall, filled with appointments, trainings, and community activities, and smiled. She thought about everything she had faced to get there and how every decision, every sacrifice, had been worth it. Just then, the clinic bell rang. Olivia went to answer it and was met by a young woman, shy and visibly nervous. "Can I come in?" the girl asked. Olivia nodded and invited her to sit down. The girl explained that she had heard about the clinic and was interested in one of the nursing courses. "I want to help people too," she said, her eyes shining with hope. Olivia felt a lump in her throat. She remembered herself, years ago, when she was still a cleaner and dreamed of becoming a nurse. "Of course you can," she replied with a warm smile. "Let's start building your future right now." At that moment, Olivia was sure that the clinic was more than just a place for medical care. It was a space for transformation and welcome. She had managed to create something meaningful, something that would impact not only her life and that of her children, but that of many others around her. Olivia returned to New Orleans with renewed determination. She rented a modest space in the center of the city and began to transform it into a community clinic. She invested the money from Clara's inheritance in basic equipment and recruited health professionals willing to work for a greater cause. He faced many obstacles during the process. The local authorities imposed countless bureaucracies, while some members of the medical community criticized her and doubted her ability to lead such an ambitious project. Despite the difficulties, Olivia persisted. She remembered the times she worked as a cleaner in the hospital, dreaming of the day when she could really help people. The clinic, for her, was the realization of that dream. She decided that she would not only offer medical care, but also free nursing courses and professional training for other women who, like her, were looking for a new opportunity. The first few months of the clinic were difficult. The number of patients was low, and, even with all the money from her inheritance, Olivia felt the weight of the bills to keep the place running. She had to get involved in every aspect of the clinic, from patient care to organizing the finances. She often returned home exhausted and worried, but she didn't allow fear to make her give up. Clara, her biological mother, moved to New Orleans to support Olivia on this new path. Clara's presence proved crucial, as she offered advice and helped run the clinic during the most difficult times. The two began to share not only their daily tasks, but also their dreams and the pain they carried. Olivia realized that, despite all the difficulties, she had finally found her place. As time went by, word of the clinic spread throughout the city. People from different neighborhoods began to seek out the services it offered. The community's trust grew, and Olivia saw her vision start to become a reality. The place became more than just a place for medical care. It became a refuge for those looking for hope and opportunities. People didn't just come to the clinic to take care of their health, but also to take part in courses, receive guidance, and find a place where they felt valued. While working at the clinic, Olivia also looked after the twins, who were now 3 years old. She raised them alone, teaching them about compassion, courage, and the power of perseverance. They became the force that drove her every day. At times when things seemed too complicated, She only had to look at her children to find the motivation she needed. Clara, as a grandmother, was also present at every stage, helping to raise her grandchildren and offering Olivia emotional support. Work at the clinic intensified, and Olivia had to hire more professionals as demand increased. She faced new challenges, such as expanding the space and acquiring more equipment. However, she was never intimidated. She knew that every obstacle she overcame was another step towards her goal. The clinic, which started out small and discredited, now became a symbol of resistance and transformation. With the results coming in, Olivia was invited to speak at local events about public health and social entrepreneurship. In her talks, she shared not only the challenges she faced, but also the importance of not giving up on your dreams. Her story began to inspire others, who saw in her an example of courage and overcoming. One Saturday afternoon, as Olivia finished organizing the clinic's paperwork, she felt a mixture of tiredness and satisfaction. She looked at the timetable on the wall, filled with appointments, trainings, and community activities, and smiled. She thought about everything she had faced to get there and how every decision, every sacrifice, had been worth it. Just then, the clinic bell rang. Olivia went to answer it and was met by a young woman, shy and visibly nervous. "Can I come in?" the girl asked. Olivia nodded and invited her to sit down. The girl explained that she had heard about the clinic and was interested in one of the nursing courses. "I want to help people too," she said, her eyes shining with hope. Olivia felt a lump in her throat. She remembered herself, years ago, when she was still a cleaner and dreamed of becoming a nurse. "Of course you can," she replied with a warm smile. "Let's start building your future right now." At that moment, Olivia was sure that the clinic was more than just a place for medical care. It was a space for transformation and welcome. She had managed to create something meaningful, something that would impact not only her life and that of her children, but that of many others around her. Olivia worked tirelessly to keep the clinic running and make it a reference point in her community. As the clinic grew, she was forced to expand the space and hire more professionals to meet the growing demand. With each new patient she received, with each story of overcoming that she heard, her motivation grew stronger. She became more than just a provider of medical care. She became a guide for other women who, like her, faced seemingly insurmountable challenges. As the positive impact of the clinic spread, Olivia began to be invited to participate in events and lectures on public health and entrepreneurship. She always accepted these invitations, seeing them as a chance to share her story and inspire others. During these talks, she would talk about her difficulties, her past as a cleaner, and her journey of transformation. She believed that by sharing her experience, she could motivate other women to never give up on their dreams, no matter what obstacles they encountered. Meanwhile, Samuel continued his life in New Orleans, focused on his career as a doctor. He never looked for Olivia during those years and, for her, that seemed like the best thing. Their children grew up surrounded by love and, with Clara's support, Olivia managed to balance the routine of the clinic with raising the twins. She knew that one day the children might ask about their father, and she was prepared to tell them the truth without resentment or hurt feelings. One afternoon, after a long day at work, Olivia decided to take the twins to a restaurant near the clinic. She wanted to spend some time with them, away from her daily worries. She sat at the table, listening to the children's laughter and enjoying the moment. It was then that, as she looked towards the entrance to the restaurant, she saw Samuel standing there, looking directly at her. Olivia's heart raced, but she remained calm. Samuel watched her for a moment and then began to approach. His steps were slow and his gaze carried a mixture of surprise and nervousness. Olivia straightened up in her chair, prepared for what was to follow. Samuel approached the table hesitantly, as if each step carried the weight of the years that had passed. Olivia remained silent, watching him with a firm, serene gaze. When he got close enough, his eyes passed quickly over the twins, who were playing distractedly, and then back to Olivia. "Can I sit down?" he asked, his voice faltering slightly. Olivia nodded, without looking away. Samuel pulled out a chair and sat down. There was a silence between them, full of unspoken words. Samuel seemed to struggle to find a way to start the conversation. Finally, he took a deep breath and said, "I've heard about the clinic. I've heard about you and what you've been doing." She continued to watch him, waiting for him to say more. He began, nervously. I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry about what happened. I was a coward. I took the easy way out, the way my family wanted, and I hurt you. Olivia didn't reply immediately. Samuel's words hit her, but she didn't know if she could still trust them. There's no point in regretting the past, Samuel, she said calmly. Life has moved on. I've moved on. He lowered his head, clearly feeling the impact of those words. I know, he continued, but there's something else I need to know. He gestured towards the twins. They're my children, aren't they? Olivia took a deep breath before answering. Yes, Samuel, they are your children, but they grew up without you. I raised them alone with Clara's help. Samuel was silent, processing this revelation. His expression changed from surprise to a mixture of sadness and regret. I didn't know, he muttered. I had no idea. Because you never tried to find out, Olivia replied firmly. You made your choices, and I made mine. I won't lie to them about who you are, but you need to prove that you're worthy of being in their lives. Samuel looked at the twins, feeling a rush of emotions. I want to meet them, he said, almost in a whisper. I want to be there, if you'll let me. Olivia stared at him, searching for any trace of sincerity in his words. I won't stop you, she finally replied. But, Samuel, they need stability. They need someone to stay, not another empty promise. He nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. I know, he said. I'm going to prove that I can be the father they deserve. Olivia showed no optimism, but agreed to give it a chance. One step at a time, Samuel, she said. That's all I can offer you now. The days that followed were marked by Samuel's constant presence. He showed up at the clinic regularly, offering to help out as a volunteer doctor. At first, Olivia observed his attitude with suspicion. She knew he was trying to make amends, but it wouldn't be easy to win back her trust. Samuel dedicated himself to his work, seeing patients and getting involved in community projects. He began to listen to people's stories, to genuinely care about their needs, something he had never done in his previous routine. The twins, still young, began to notice Samuel's presence in their lives. At first, they didn't understand exactly who he was. Olivia had a careful conversation with them, explaining as simply as possible that this was their father. The children were confused, but curious, and gradually began to get closer to him. Samuel, for his part, was patient and respected his children's time. He played with them, helped with their schoolwork, and always tried to be there for them, even in the most trivial moments. Olivia watched everything with mixed feelings. On the one hand, she saw Samuel making an effort to be a father, to build a real relationship with his children. On the other, she felt cautious, always waiting for a possible setback. She knew she couldn't predict the future, but she wanted to protect her children from further disappointment. So she stood firm, overseeing Samuel's every step in the children's lives. While dealing with the new family dynamic, Olivia also dedicated herself to expanding the clinic. The work went on and on. She organized community events, offering free examinations, training courses, and health awareness campaigns. The clinic became a point of reference in the city, not only for medical care, but also as a space for welcoming and transformation. She saw women and men from the community finding new opportunities there, something that filled her with pride and motivated her to continue. As the months went by, Samuel became an active figure in the clinic. He not only helped with patient care, but also supported Olivia's initiatives. People in the community, who initially viewed him with suspicion, began to accept his presence. Some, who knew his past, saw the change in his behavior and recognized his efforts to make a difference. Even so, Samuel knew that the approval of others wasn't enough. He needed to prove, above all, to Olivia and his children that he was there to stay. The twins began to get used to Samuel's presence in their lives. At times, they called him Dad and became attached to him in a way that surprised Olivia. She watched them play together in the park, put puzzles together, and even go for walks around the city. Despite her happiness at seeing her children laughing and having fun, Olivia couldn't help but be afraid. She was afraid that one day Samuel would disappear again, leaving a wound that would be hard to heal in the children's hearts. It was on one of these days, during a trip to the park with the twins, that Samuel plucked up the courage to talk to Olivia. They were sitting on a bench, watching the children run and play. "Olivia," he began, his voice calm, "I know you still have your doubts about me, and I understand. I myself had doubts about who I was and what I really wanted out of life." She turned to him, waiting for him to continue. "When I chose to follow my family's expectations, I left behind something that was essential to me. You and everything we could have built together." Samuel looked at the twins, his gaze soft and at the same time full of determination. "I won't make the same mistake again. I know I can't change the past, but I want to be present now, for real. I want to be the father they deserve and the partner you deserve." Olivia listened without interrupting. She felt a mixture of relief and caution. Samuel's words seemed sincere, but she knew that time would be the true test of his change. "I won't stop you from trying," she finally replied, with a tone of voice that sounded as much like acceptance as a warning. "But I don't expect promises. I expect action, because they deserve a father who's really here." Samuel nodded, understanding what she meant. "And that's what I'm going to do," he said. "I'm going to prove, with my actions, that I'm here to stay." The months passed and Samuel kept his promise. He attended school meetings, took the twins to doctor's appointments, was there for the important moments and the little ones. He worked alongside Olivia at the clinic, getting involved in health campaigns and emergency care. The clinic prospered, expanding its services and reaching even more people. Olivia watched all these changes, both at the clinic and in her personal life, with a sense that things were finally taking a positive turn. With stability achieved, Olivia and Samuel began to discuss new ideas for the clinic. One day, Samuel proposed something that surprised her. "What if we expanded the clinic to other cities?" he suggested excitedly. "We could take this model of care and support to other communities that need it." Olivia thought for a moment. She knew that such an expansion would bring enormous challenges, but also an incredible opportunity to make a difference. "We can try," she replied, smiling, "but we have to do it the right way, with a lot of care and planning." And so the plans for expansion began. Samuel, with his contacts and experience, helped pave the way, while Olivia coordinated the operation to ensure that the clinic's values and principles were maintained. Together, they formed a dedicated and united team. Over time, new clinics were opened, carrying Olivia's spirit and mission to offer care and opportunity to all who needed it. The results of this joint work soon began to appear. The community expanded, and the new clinics became places of reference for healthcare and professional training. Olivia felt fulfilled when she saw how a dream that seemed impossible turned into a concrete and impactful project. Samuel, for his part, found a new purpose in his life, leaving behind his old fear and becoming an active part of this change. One quiet evening, after an exhausting day, Olivia sat in the twins' room, watching them as they slept. She thought about everything she had faced, all the sacrifices and struggles. She looked at her children and felt a deep peace, not because the problems had disappeared, but because, despite everything, she had been able to get back on her feet and build something great for herself and for others. She left the room, finding Samuel in the living room, going through some papers from the clinic. He looked up, smiling. "How are they?" he asked. "Sleeping," Olivia replied, with a soft smile. "We're making it, Samuel. We're making it." Olivia and Samuel's life entered a new phase. The clinic was now a major reference in New Orleans, and the newly opened branches in other cities began to thrive. The hard work they put into the expansion brought encouraging results. Olivia was proud to see her dream grow and impact so many lives. The community embraced the project, and people from different neighborhoods came to the clinic for help and guidance. As the clinic grew, Olivia had to deal with new challenges. Managing several units required more planning and an even more dedicated team. She held frequent meetings with the professionals, reinforcing the project's values and mission. Despite her responsibilities, she remained close to the patients and involved in day-to-day activities. She knew that her role went beyond administration. She represented a story of overcoming that inspired many people. Samuel proved to be an active partner during this process. He traveled with Olivia to visit the new clinics and get to know the local communities. Always willing to help, he got involved in the social projects, organizing health campaigns, and working in direct patient care. The clinic staff came to respect him for his dedication and, little by little, the barrier between him and the community disappeared. As the clinic thrived, the twins grew rapidly. They began to ask more complex questions about life, the clinic, and their parents' work. Olivia and Samuel involved them in the activities, showing them the importance of helping others and fighting for their dreams. On some afternoons, they took the boys to the clinic so that they could get to know the environment and understand what their parents did. It was on one of these days, while they were watching Olivia organize a free screening event, that one of the twins asked, "Mom, why do you and Dad do this?" Olivia squatted down to their height, smiling before answering. "Because we want to help people have a better life. Not everyone has access to doctors and treatments. So we're here to change that." The boys nodded, seeming to absorb their mother's words. Samuel walked over and put his hand on Olivia's shoulder, looking at his sons with a smile. "And that's why you two can make a difference, believe in your dreams, and work for them," he added. Samuel's relationship with his children grew stronger. He became a constant and reliable presence, someone the twins came to trust. Olivia observed this evolution and, for the first time, began to let her guard down. She allowed herself to believe that Samuel was truly committed to the new life they were building together. Over time, their partnership within the clinic also consolidated. Samuel came up with innovative ideas for the services and actively participated in important decisions. Olivia saw in him a dedicated ally, something she hadn't imagined when they met again in the restaurant a while ago. Trust grew, and she allowed herself to share more responsibilities with him, relieving some of the burden she was carrying alone. However, even with all her achievements, Olivia never forgot the battles she faced. She knew that the stability of the clinic and the family life they had built were the fruit of daily effort. She had learned that the path of overcoming had no endpoint, but rather continuous steps towards a better future. On a particularly busy day, when she was driving home with Samuel and the twins, she looked out of the car window and saw the city. The night lights illuminated the streets where she had walked so many years ago, with uncertain dreams and the weight of doubts. Now, she drove through the same streets with the certainty that every choice, every effort, and every sacrifice had been worth it. Olivia's life had changed dramatically over the years. The clinic was thriving in New Orleans, and the new branches in other cities were also growing successfully. Olivia and Samuel's hard work was beginning to show concrete results. The community recognized their efforts, and more people sought out the services they offered. The project had ceased to be just a dream and had become a movement for social transformation. Olivia, however, knew that the success of the clinic was not just about medical care. People needed much more than consultations and treatments. They needed opportunities and hope. That's why she decided to expand the professional training programs. In addition to nursing courses, the clinic began to offer training in other areas of health and partnerships with local companies to provide jobs for those looking for a new chance. During this period, Samuel took on an even more active role. He proposed the creation of a mobile care unit, a van equipped to carry out tests and offer assistance in remote neighborhoods where access to healthcare was limited. Olivia loved the idea, and together they sought sponsorship and donations to make the project possible. Before long, the mobile unit was on the streets, bringing health and education services to communities that needed them most. The results came quickly. People who had never had the chance to see a doctor began to receive treatment. Unemployed women found the clinic's courses an opportunity to start over. Children began to have access to routine examinations, identifying health problems that had previously been ignored. The mobile unit became a symbol of hope, and Olivia and Samuel were seen as community heroes. One day, as they were returning from a visit to one of the clinic's new branches in another town, Samuel turned to Olivia with a thoughtful expression. "Have you thought about the impact all this is having?" he asked, looking out of the car window. "We're changing lives, Olivia. You, especially, are transforming this city and so many others." Olivia smiled, but there was something deeper in her expression. "Yes, Samuel, we are making a difference, and that gives me great joy. But I know that this transformation doesn't end here. What we're building is just the beginning. There's still a lot to be done." The twins, sitting in the back seat, listened to their parents talk. They had grown up surrounded by this atmosphere of community work and gradually began to understand the value of what Olivia and Samuel were doing. "One day, we'll help out at the clinic too," said one of the boys confidently. Olivia turned to them, moved, and replied, "Of course you will. This clinic is part of you too." As the mobile unit project developed, Olivia and Samuel realized that they would need more volunteers to keep the clinics and the mobile unit going. They organized campaigns to recruit professionals and train existing staff. With each new person who joined the cause, the strength of the clinic grew, as did the hope of continuing to expand the work. One hot summer afternoon, Olivia and Samuel attended a community event in a park where they offered free checkups and health talks. While Samuel talked to a group of young people about the importance of disease prevention, Olivia looked around. She saw parents with their children, elderly people being attended to, and young people learning about health. All this filled her with pride, but also with responsibility. At the end of the event, a man approached Olivia. His eyes were watery and his voice shaky. "I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for us," he said, holding Olivia's hand tightly. "Thanks to your clinic, my wife was able to get life-changing treatment. You've brought hope to our family." Olivia felt her eyes fill with tears. Those words touched her heart in a profound way. "Thank you," she replied, her voice breaking. "But please know that this is only possible because you believe in us and support us. We are on this journey together." As they drove home that evening, Olivia reflected on how far she had come. Since she had decided to move back to New Orleans and open the clinic, she had faced countless challenges. She remembered the days she worked as a cleaner, the moments of despair, the nights she cried alone. She also remembered the strength she found when she discovered her pregnancy and the determination that guided her throughout. "You're quiet," Samuel commented, looking at her with concern. "Is everything all right?" Olivia turned to him, a slight smile on her lips. "I'm just thinking about everything we've been through to get here," she said. "It's amazing to see what we've built. I know we've had our ups and downs, but we've achieved something that even I didn't think was possible." Samuel nodded, understanding what she meant. "You've always been a fighter, Olivia, and I feel grateful to be part of that now. To be here, building this story with you and the boys." She looked at him, her eyes shining with emotion. "I'm grateful too, Samuel, for choosing to be here, for striving to be the father our children deserve, and for being my partner in this mission." The two continued their journey in silence, but at that moment, something changed inside them. Their partnership and mutual respect became even stronger. They knew that the road ahead would still present challenges, but they were ready to face them together, as a family and as leaders of a movement that went beyond the walls of the clinic. When they arrived home, the twins were already asleep in the back seat of the car. Samuel carried them one by one to their rooms, while Olivia covered them with affection. Then they met in the living room and sat down on the sofa side by side. "We're doing it, Samuel," she said, breaking the silence. "We're doing it." He nodded, interlacing his fingers with hers. "Yes, we are. And we still have a lot to do. Let's keep going together." Olivia closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the peace that this journey had brought her. Finally, she had found what she had always been looking for. A purpose, a family, and a love that, despite all the barriers, had stood the test of time and grown stronger. In the months that followed, Olivia and Samuel continued their work, taking the clinic's mission to more communities and people in need. Life found a new rhythm, full of challenges, but also moments of joy and satisfaction. The family remained firm, united and focused on their purpose. The twins, now 10, became increasingly involved in the clinic's activities. Olivia taught them the importance of listening to people's stories and offering help whenever they could. They learned about empathy, compassion, and the power of transformation. Watching their parents, they understood that the work of caring for others is an act of love. One morning, while they were preparing breakfast, one of the boys asked, "Mom, why did you and Dad choose to help people?" Olivia paused for a moment and smiled. "Because life isn't always fair," she explained. "And when we have the chance to make a difference, we should take it and use our time to improve the lives of those in need." Samuel, who was standing next to her, added, "We've learned that true value lies in the choices we make and how we use our time to create something good for others." The twins nodded, absorbing those words with the wisdom that only children can have. The routine of work and family love became the new normal for Olivia and Samuel. The clinics continued to thrive, and new units were opened in different cities. They began to receive messages and letters from people whose lives had been impacted by the project, thanking them for their help and support over the years. One fall afternoon, as they walked through the park, Samuel held Olivia's hand and said, "You know, we've really built something special." She looked at him, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Yes, we did. And not just for us, but for everyone who crossed our path." They moved on, with their children running ahead, laughing and playing. The future still held many challenges, but Olivia and Samuel were ready to face them together, as they had always done.